Alright, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the stream. This is Diagnose Your Chess, episode 5. And today I am with Henry Hughes, who is from Canada. And we were just talking, rating around like 1760 CFC, but Lee Chess is like a little bit higher, right? Like around 2000, you'd say?
Yeah, like 2000-ish, 2100 rapid, but I haven't touched that in a while because I want to keep it there. But yeah, like 2000-ish classical.
Cool. Yeah, like everyone's ratings are just jumbled up because of COVID
I
and
know. Yeah, I
um,
haven't played a tournament, as I said when before the stream started, like 16 months, I think.
uh-huh.
And I went from playing, 12 to 15 a year to none. It's just crazy.
Right. So yeah, well, so this is the show where we kind of we go into it and we talk about someone's chess and take a look at some recent games. I've known Henry for a little bit through the dojo, Discord, and Twitch, but this will be the first time that we like kind of interact and actually
Yeah,
break
for
down.
sure.
I've seen a few of your games from the streams, like Sunday Night Fights and stuff. So I feel like I
Yeah,
have a
I'm,
little
I'm
bit.
usually playing.
Right, I've got a little bit of like a sense of where you're at, but it would be good to kind of like pick your brain and go through your moves. But before we get into that, maybe you could talk a little bit about like, well, what were you doing like let's say before the pandemic, chess wise, and then what have you been doing during the pandemic?
So that's a very good question for me personally because so before I was like I think I had finally hit my ceiling before COVID, and I actually like I was playing a lot of tournaments, so I'm very experience based. But I've never had a coach before. It was always kind of me self-teaching myself. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I hit COVID started, like I just come home from university. It ended, so I had like just all this time to focus on chess. So I started like really grinding and trying to get better. Just doing books, courses. Um, I had an issue for me, like the way I approached chess in my youth was very opening focused. I
Mm.
didn't study, it was a very unorthodox way of doing things. So I had all this opening theory knowledge that I didn't really, it was kind of useless once I had people that were able to play the opening out with me. And then I would get to a middle game and I just would, or an end game, and I wouldn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in COVID, I've spent a lot of my endgame. That's been a huge thing I've been focusing on. I just got Dvoretsky's endgame manual for Christmas. I'm gonna start going through that as well.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, I've started studying a lot more during COVID, and I'm waiting for that to end so I can test out my knowledge on the board. But
Nice. I
yeah,
know you're also playing a lot. So how often are you? How often would you say you're playing like classical games, rapid games?
in my peak, I'm playing probably close to 4 to 7 classical games a month. As I think I mentioned this to you before the stream started. I had a bit of burnout at the end of December, so I took a break. But I'm like getting back into it now. So yeah, it's gonna be around there. I try to play a lot.
Cool. All right, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
start like just going through some of your games, and you're playing white in this one. Um,
Yes.
let's take a
Oh wait, no,
look.
I think I'm
Oh, you're black.
black.
You're black. Thank you. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, let me flip this here. And okay. Um, and this was a classical game, right? Or was this?
Yes. Yeah. I think this was a
Yeah,
30-minute game.
30. Oh, got it. Okay, cool. All right. So C3, 97, 498. So we're basically playing kind of like a King's Indian setup here.
Yeah.
Is that what you normally do against like
Uh,
D4?
against 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 D4, no, I actually I mean, I'm kind of all over the place right now. I've been playing just uh Dutch, mainly Dutch, and why can't I remember the name of this very common thing? I'm having a complete brain fart. Um,
You want to make the
why
moves
is
on
this
the board?
happening? Why is this happening? It's like I've been playing this for so long now.
Oh, Nimzo?
Yeah, Nimzo Indian. There we go.
Yeah,
And
Nimzo's
Rogozin
good.
stuff. Yeah.
Right. Okay,
I
cool.
don't know how I forgot that.
Oh, I see. But if they start with knight
Yeah.
f3, then
I tend to mirror, yeah. Because
gotcha.
I actually play against the French. I'm playing the King's Indian attack now. So I have a good like knowledge of it, so I normally mirror it.
Okay. And what if
Yeah.
they play something like this?
Oh, C4.
Mm-hmm.
I I'd probably go into like some sort of Queen's Indian kind of thing with like E6, just kind of hedgehog. Because
Gotcha.
normally these kind of players are going to go into it ready, and that's what I'm like comfortable. Yeah, like this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And they play like this, and then here, and I'm playing for like C6 or sorry D6, Knight D7, Bishop E7, castles C5 at some point. Yeah, just kind of like a very held back setup until I'm ready to break.
Okay, yeah, this is definitely playable. I mean, you could do the same thing um, here. You could go b6 if you
Yeah,
wanted.
for sure.
Okay, so that's interesting. All right, so we get this. Um, yeah, totally reasonable structure for black. There's different ways of playing this one. Um, Not quite sure about knight e7. What's the idea here?
I was just kind of playing normal like King's Indian defense theory, I guess you could say, like the setup as I know it in my head. That's why I played the 8 next move. So I was thinking bringing this back, prep
Hmm.
f5 at some point.
Right.
Um,
I mean, okay,
yeah,
let's put the position you're thinking about on the board. So, yeah, I guess like in typical King's Indian, which okay, we can get from this fancy move order.
yeah, like just the complete classical kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have like e5 castles, and then black goes knight c6, white pushes d5, knight e7, and then yeah,
Right.
we have our like knight e8 stuff. So this is kind of
Yeah, this
our
stuff.
reference point. But
Yeah,
I mean, in the game, I mean, number one, our knight's not under attack.
right.
Like with sorry, I'm just trying to get my arrows. Arrows can be really tough. There we go. The knight's not under attack. So this move 97, this is like, I mean, this is a full tempo you're giving up. Um, and yeah, we need to understand why we're actually making the move, because it's not that the knight is good on e7. It's just that the knight gets hit. The knight is important to push e5, but here white kind of gave us e5 for free. So our knight is kind of standing. It doesn't exactly stand well on c6 because the c3 pawn will restrict it, but it doesn't stand
Right.
better on e7. That's for sure, because on e7 doesn't have a lot of prospects. Um,
So maybe I should have in the first place considered knight d7 instead
yeah, definitely. Like
instead of c6.
so. Oh, instead of knight c6. No,
Yeah.
I think knight c6 here is totally fine, because you're putting the knight in the center, and I mean it's well placed here, even if white plays c3. But then the
Right.
follow up, I think there's different ways to play these positions for black, but one very reasonable idea is actually just to play for d5, just taking. You can
Okay.
play like in the center, but if you wanted to play more of like a King's Indian type of game, then I would maybe think about starting with a move like h6. This one is often useful in general. And then you kind of open up some options like you have knight h7 and then f5. You also just always controlling this g5 square, and then when it's time to push your kingside pawns, you're kind of already equipped to do that.
Right.
Um, and so I don't know what white does here. Maybe let's follow the moves white played in the game, like a4. Then you could, for example, go back knight h7 here or knight e8, and then play for your typical f5 counterplay.
Right.
And then knight on c6 is good because I mean it just like restricts white from pushing the d pawn. So
Yeah, that's true.
it's like I mean the important thing is yeah we got to treat positions in a very like concrete manner. Um, and yeah, just because one move is good in one opening doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to translate in another position.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, let's keep going. So here, knight c4, f5. Well, I mean, our plan is pretty simple. King h8, yeah. d4. Wow. Sharp move.
I guess that was okay. I don't know. Seems I can't help but not look at the computer evaluation right to the left of the
Yeah,
thing. But
sorry, that's probably just 24. Um,
I'm
well,
just trying to find the issue with it.
I'm more
Like,
interested
I mean,
in
it dropped
what
before, I guess.
yeah, what was like your thoughts here when White played D4? I know you ended up playing B6. So what was kind of your
Yeah. I guess I just missed the free e pawn. But I don't know. My thought on b6 was just, my other bishop is. I think I wanted my other bishop on a6, to just try to maybe get a pin on the knight on c4, the rook,
hmm
and then maybe it's kind of a slow plan actually, I guess. But d5 at some point,
Yeah,
and
now
just
that
try to
you're
make
looking
fun of
at
the
it, it
knight.
feels very slow, right? Because White just
Yeah,
initiated this like violence, like so many pawns hanging,
yeah,
and B6, bishop
right.
A6. So you're saying you didn't even see you had FE4?
I think I probably did. Sorry, this game was a little while ago, but
Oh, okay.
I, something that's happened for me is I've been punished by taking pawns at this stage of the game before and just getting crushed. So I probably was just thinking like this is gonna be not a good pawn to take.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
maybe I wanted f. I probably wanted to play f4 as well, which is a pretty good break for black, I think.
so like you want to be careful about this because like again, I think you kind of come back to treating every position in like a unique way. It's like I understand
Right.
sometimes you get burned for taking pawns and that means you should be careful about it, but every position is different and it's like you got to evaluate the situations on a case by case basis because there will be lots of pawns that are very good to take, especially if you get to take them and like attack something or control some key squares. I would imagine. I mean, it's possible you were worried about fe4 knight g5,
Yeah,
which
that kind of
is,
stuff.
I mean, usually kind of like the idea. Although I'm not even sure if White saw that their pawn was hanging. We no way of knowing. um,
Right.
and okay, the engine will find something here, but I think just from human point of view, um,
I mean, one idea I kind of have for white is this is just if white could have the moves they want, say I take on e4, knight g5, and then play knight b6,
hmm. Well,
hoping
you're saying
for knight f7,
take
right?
on d4, and then what was the line?
So say I took on e4. I don't really have moves for black in response, but say knight g5,
Mm-hmm.
and this kind of restricts bishop e6. Maybe I just move a knight out of the way. Um, my idea is kind of knight b6 in some of these lines, but I guess two knights for the rook is not
Yeah, you're giving up a
that
lot of
amazing.
material there as White.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
And in the meantime, yeah, black has a move here, so we can like take on d4
yeah,
and then push d5, for example,
right.
which looks yeah, looks quite nice for black. Okay, kind of a miss there, but that's all right. Let's keep going.
Yeah,
So b6 takes, and we take. Now the game gets crazy,
a little
but
crazy.
I feel like everything you're doing here makes sense. And now position starts to look really good for you. I think White kind of
Yeah,
self-destructed here a little bit, but that often happens against the King's Indian. That's why it's one of my favorite openings.
yeah.
Okay, so now we're doing great. Knight d6, take, bishop g5 here, c5. Actually, there was something to be said. Did you consider this endgame? Queen takes a3.
Um, honestly, I kind of did, but I didn't really think so. I thought keeping the queens on because there could be at some point a way to exploit the weak king.
Mm-hmm.
And the bishop is still bad, but I don't feel I'll be able to hold on to that pawn for super long in the endgame because that rook is going to come to a3. Maybe they play some sort of b4 setup. I don't know, trying to push those pawns and double the rooks on like the third rank, and just trying to get the pawn off of f3. And
Hmm.
I felt it's just easier for them to attack. It gives them a point, like they're kind of dictating what's going on in the game in that sense. Um,
Hmm.
obviously, I can create counterplay, but So I just thought maybe keeping the queens on because the middle game is still highly favorable for me. I move the queen out of the way or play c5. Their queen's on a horrible square. My bishops keep dominating, stuff like that.
I see. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm not sure if it was the right decision because it's like here. I guess when we keep the queens on for the attack, it is kind of like a speculative decision. Like we don't know exactly
Right.
how we're breaking through. Like I would understand if you had a direct plan, like bringing the queen over to h5 or something, like bishop h3. Not sure. I mean, I think you're definitely clear, like much better in both cases. Actually, I think it's just an interesting decision because in the end game, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it relies on this move bishop c4, like to kind of fix white structure a little bit. This one does look very ugly for white with the f3 pawn. Because it's just a very difficult pawn to deal with, and like white's rooks are now kind of scattered. Maybe bishop e2 or something. You know, rook comes to e8.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, just a thing for me also is I've always been more comfortable with queens on the board. Like I like playing with my queen rather than without. So that was probably a factor as well.
I see. I mean, that's possible. Yeah, we all have like these biases. In fact, I might even have kind of a similar bias because I do like to attack as well. What I would say, what's kind of helped me in this is that like, I guess you have to kind of understand the decision that you're making. So if you take the end game, it's like maybe 60-40. 60% you win, 40% you draw. Sometimes you'll like blunder and like lose, but we'll just kind of, that can happen anytime. Whereas if you take the attacking position, it's more like, I don't know, it can even be like 50-50 win-lose. So then it's like up to you to decide, like you want 50-50 win-lose or do you want 60-40 win-draw? And once you kind of put it like that, like, well, or even if it's like 50-50 win-draw, you know, it's it's still a very clear decision. Although I would say this one was not that clear. I would say this is like, if you go for the end game 50-50, if you keep queens on the board, like maybe 50% win, 25% draw, 25% loss.
Yeah.
But okay, it doesn't mean always trade queens. It just means like, you know, the decision is a serious one, and a lot of times it's all about like, sometimes there's no wrong decision. It's like you're better with queens on the board and you're better with queens off the board. It's just a matter of which one is kind of more straightforward. Although I feel like you won this one really quickly, so I'm not even sure if this is worth discussing.
Yeah.
Game ended actually. Takes here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had this tactic because I just was right.
Oh, h6.
Here, where I am kicking the bishop.
Okay, so I mean, actually, I think your decision worked out totally fine.
Yeah, I think maybe just particularly because of the queen position of like white's queen position is pretty bad.
Yeah,
my bishop is kind of keeping it from getting out and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this works out really well, actually. Bishop e2, a5, h6, and takes. And back rank. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's
the rook and the bishop.
Yeah. Well, let's jump to the next one here.
Sure.
Okay. This game, I think you're playing white.
I believe so. I can't see it on the top. It's saying it's the same game.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm definitely white this game.
Okay.
Because it's the French and I played the KIA.
Right. All right. So this is your main opening against the French.
Yeah. Recently, I just started picking it up more.
Do you also do it against the Sicilian?
No. I normally play like Rossolimo / Canal Attack against that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. Because you can also play these kinds of setups against the Sicilian as well. Yeah, especially e6 Sicilians. Totally possible.
Right.
Cool. So knight h2. Wow. I yeah, it's already worked out, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of what you suggested last game.
Oh, actually, yeah. In fact,
with the h3,
yeah. Now a3. Okay, a3 just stopped knight before. That's fine.
Yeah. Because I I kind of was using some Dutch intuition here with Queen E1.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that a thing?
Um,
A6.
yeah, yeah. No, no, in the Dutch, just to play Queen E8, you have to figure out like how you're gonna stop the knight coming to, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
B5 or B4 in this
Mm-hmm.
situation. Usually I would do it with C6 or C3, but because of this, like the way this setup is, I need to play A3.
Gotcha, gotcha. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Now the bishop on h5 actually is kind of awkward for black.
Yeah.
So you already have nice position here. Okay, so knight c4, rook e8, 5. I mean, things look great. Wow, you didn't take on h6 here? Oh, because of knight h5.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, wait, take knight h5, you go here, and then if knight f6, you go queen g5?
No, it's mate.
Oh, sorry, sorry. Yeah, yeah, so queen g4, then what's the problem?
Maybe G6, but that looks good for white.
Yeah, yeah, I don't understand why you didn't take the pawn.
Hmm. Yeah, I just kind of, I don't know. I just missed the idea.
Okay.
Like I saw that, but I just kind of thought knight h5. Maybe I was, yeah, I think I wanted to play bishop f3 first, so that there was no knight h5.
Okay, to be fair, you actually had 7 minutes at this point, so you're kind of in time trouble. Then the question is, wow, where did you burn all your time? uh,
Yeah, I can check if you
oh,
want.
okay. No, I have the game open. That's why I was looking. Okay,
Oh,
apparently
okay.
you spent all your time on knight c4. You spent like 20 minutes on this move.
Let me go back. Yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah, because I was trying to. I mean, I knew I wanted to move the knight because I need to start, building a little more pressure. I mean, a little more defense on the f4 pawn, and as you mentioned, the h6 pawn, like opening up that diagonal. And I was trying to decide between b3 and c4. Um, I just I do that at times when I have these two decisions that look, kind of similar and will play out a little more like in the same ways. I think a long time because I'm trying to, and I calculate lines deeply. So I'm like, will this have a repercussion this many moves down the line? So I was really like, I don't know, particular about thinking here.
Yeah, but you gotta understand, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit because you have
Yeah.
29 minutes, right? I mean, it's G30. So far
Yeah.
you've managed your time really well because you've played pretty quickly and all your moves kind of follow like the logical plan. But then at this point, I would say the situation hasn't really changed that much. It's still kind of a semi-quiet, but like about to get sharp. So for sure you have to calculate here, but you also have to recognize that like you're not going to be able, like the real calculation is going to start like 5 moves from now, and here you just have to find a way of bringing your pieces in. So like, I mean, to my eyes,
Right.
if you play any move, knight c4, queen g3, king h1, all these moves are like totally reasonable, and I think your position is good regardless. But something to be said maybe just about being a little bit more practical with the time management, because that might be your biggest mistake in this game actually, just spending
Right.
a ton of time. Because yeah, in Blitz you could have made the same exact moves, like
Yeah, that's true.
so. Okay, it's always easier in hindsight, but I mean that's yeah, just what I noticed. So now we don't have that much time, but now it's like the time to
Think.
calculate. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so here, okay, he gets out of the way. Knight g4 takes f6, king f2. Mm-hmm. He gets this square, and now comes the counterplay.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, so this happens sometimes. It's like you just try to build up the attack for like a million moves, and then your
Right.
opponent just
Yeah.
gets back. Do you feel like this kind of thing happens frequently?
Um, I mean, yeah, like a big thing for me. I've started to work on it a little bit throughout like COVID and the pandemic break, but I would oftentimes like just like this game get these really good positions and then throw them away, just like I did here, and just not be able to play them out. And
Yeah. Hmm.
it actually wasn't taking too long and not having enough time. It was moving too fast, and you'll see that's a trend. I probably happens in these other games, but
Right.
um,
Yeah.
this is actually a bit of an anomaly that I took forever. But
Yeah.
I'm usually too fast
Actually, no,
with my
that's
moves.
what I'm used to seeing your games. I feel like you often play quickly. But yeah, this one was kind of the opposite. And then at this point, basically what happens was like, yeah, you just kind of try to win in a very like mechanical, straightforward way. But this is a
Right.
position that kind of requires like violence, like opening things up. So yeah,
Yeah.
engines suggest stuff like G5, which okay, like has to be calculated, but I guess the idea is like to get bishop H5 and bishop G6 and play for mate. But these are the
Okay.
kinds of ideas that we kind of have to be looking at. Whereas a move like King F2 is it's nice, but only if we have
The
enough
time.
time. Yeah. Um, so here it was just ended up being too slow. Um,
Yeah.
but
I wonder, could I? Sorry,
yeah.
after Queen B6,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I could have considered B4.
Well, probably a better choice. Yeah. Just to keep Black's counterplay at bay. So something like Rook A
Yeah.
C8 would follow, and then maybe like Rook C1. You can kind of like. But I mean, this is definitely the way to go at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
But I'm definitely on the back foot at this point.
but yeah, now it's right. It's like
It may get to the point where I have to take the knight, and then I don't really have a good attack on the dark squares,
yeah.
like to break up the pawn chain.
Then Black would just be kind of in total control.
Yeah.
Um, so right, I would say we've already kind of lost the thread at this point. Um,
Yeah.
but okay, cool. Let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Um, so against Ramona, and
Oh
okay, we're
yeah, this
playing
game.
Black.
Unfortunate. Yeah. Yeah. So here's a Nimzo kind of. No, not Nimzo. This was a Queen's Indian.
Mm-hmm. Queen's Indian, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I play this against Knight F3 when they because I don't really like the BOGO positions. Um.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, so Bishop G5, E3, Knight C3. So do you typically kind of play the setup like Knight D7 and stuff?
Yeah. Just this really like hedgehoggy kind of. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Hunkering down.
Well, we kind of changed our mind here, huh? Like Queen
Yeah, I know.
D7.
Like I shuffled my queen around a few times
Yeah, definitely should have
because
gone
I
to
thought,
F7.
okay, yeah, yeah, let's focus on the f2 square. And then this was just bad because of this move.
Oh, whoops.
I
Wow, what
was
a
being
nice
really
trick.
cheap. I know.
What a great trick.
Yeah, I was trying, but just queen f3 and oh no, it takes first and then no, yeah, queen f3.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
move the
I don't know.
queen.
Just yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
still.
just defend it. And it's like no, the knight's trapped.
But couldn't you have gone back knight f2 here?
I mean, yeah, I guess I could have.
Because you're repeating the position.
Oh, we were too. Oh, I'm blind.
Not that you make a draw, but just that I mean, if if
The
you feel
threat,
like you're
oh
worse,
yeah,
then you might as well repeat the position and force
yeah.
your opponent,
The
yeah,
threat is still there.
to find something
Huh.
out. Yeah, weird mode. So let's see what happened here, because I feel like you were kind of okay, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah, it just got bad really quick. I think the queen shuffling wasn't helpful at all. spent 3 moves just moving it around.
That for sure, but I think actually it was more about the structure. Like I would say this structure is not fun for black already. Even if
Right.
objectively maybe you can hold it, it's just you have this backwards pawn, open file.
Yeah.
It's like we don't really have a lot of compensation for this one. So my feeling is that maybe either we play f4 and then play this
Oh yeah.
position, which I think actually
Right.
could be interesting because you would follow up with like e5
Hmm.
if white doesn't play it, or if they do play e5, then I don't know, but maybe
Maybe
take on
just
f3,
yeah.
do
Maybe
something
D5. Oh.
like this,
Oh yeah, like this. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think you're okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
or maybe just we don't allow it in the first place and play like knight f6.
Right. Yeah. And I mean that's such a thematic thing for this kind of position. You know, you get rid of one knight, you replace the other one
Yeah, yeah,
when you play
just
the
other
count
knight
F5.
comes. Yeah, so I feel like this
No.
e4 break was something we definitely needed to kind of consider more seriously. But the other question is maybe knight f6 here at this point. Did you not like this one for some reason? Like you didn't want to trade bishops?
I think I was just in my head. I didn't want the pawn on E4.
Oh, really?
Maybe that's yeah. I don't know because I again like the whole thing with the target on E4. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess the idea is you could take with the knight here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just mean in the fight, like where I moved it back, I didn't want to just leave it and have the bishop take with the pawn taking. But yeah, knight f6.
Right. Although, yeah, the pawn can definitely get weak. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, f5. I don't know.
Maybe
Might not be right.
f5 was. Yeah.
Like the normal way of playing these positions, just to trade on c3, rook takes, and then you bring the other knight to f6, and then you prepare to put it on e4. And actually, kind of playing for e5 in these positions, actually.
Okay.
The f5 plan, like I guess from the BOGO, it's very risky because you are weakening a lot of squares. So
Right.
this is the plan where like, they castle and then they go for like rook f6, rook g6.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually you have to be really careful with this one because white often just immediately is able to kind of fight back.
Right. And then yeah, the queen shuffling. I looked at d7 after I moved it, and I was like, oh wait, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah. And then here, I don't know. There's not much I can do to stop the knight.
Was there? Hold on, because you have queen f5. If you move your knight somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if you go here, and then like here?
I mean, yeah, that's doable. I mean, probably takes.
Yeah, they win the pawn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right.
But well, I mean, you're not lost yet.
Yeah.
So
No?
that's still very playable. Yeah. So after knight h4, were you thinking it's kind of over because of knight g6?
I wasn't thinking it was over. I was thinking I would have to go for a Hail Mary pass and just try to throw everything I have left at f2. And rely on some trick like I tried, but yeah.
Okay, but all right.
I don't know.
Now I'm looking at the timestamps for this game. So yeah, I think this is more what you were talking about. So
Yeah.
it's a
Just
g30
too fast.
on knight h4. You got almost 26 minutes left, and then on knight g4 you spend basically like 40 seconds. So yeah, that's a critical time mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you believe your position is lost, then you should be spending all your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a big leak. That could really hurt you because like there are so many moments in chess where you have a move but it's not obvious like what it is. But it does exist in the
Right.
position. You just have to spend the time to find it. So it's very important, like, A, not to give up, kind of like relax on the position, whether you think it's like totally winning or like totally lost, and B, to then like kind of hunker down and spend the time and yeah, just work on solving the problems at hand. Because I think you can
Right.
find this queen f5 trick. I mean, this is really not like nothing groundbreaking,
I
you
mean,
know?
yeah, I think a big thing for me is when I get into what I think is a lost or like much worse position, as I kind of lose the motivation at times. So I'm just like, just get it over with kind of mentality, which is horrible, and I need to stop that. But
No,
it just happens.
it's very natural, and it happens to
Yeah,
everyone, myself included.
yeah,
In fact, I remember like, well, I learned this lesson when I had a game. Maybe I can just I can pull it up. Actually, it'll take like 2 seconds. But
sure.
yeah, it's really important to I guess be resilient for a
Yeah,
number of reasons. But the main one is that like you don't know for sure that you're lost. And
right.
since you're going to be wrong some of the times, you kind of throw those games away because yeah, you don't give yourself a chance to really figure out the issues. But I'll
No,
show you
I
what
had
has
a
happened to me.
yeah, I had
Hmm.
just quickly. I had a massive lesson on something like that when I was still playing over the board. So in last year, my first year of university, I played the Northern Ontario championships,
Hmm.
and I played I played an IM first round.
Hmm.
It's like full on classical, and he got mad at me because I resigned too early. He showed me I had some way. I never would have found this, but I had some way to draw. And he's like, I resigned too quickly because it was this huge thing, and I think he thought I was higher rated than I was, but because he got paired against a 1600 in the first round, but
I see.
um, yeah, it was just like just a huge eye opening, like I don't know.
No, I mean it's a really important
Yeah,
lesson. So yeah, I'll show you this game real quick.
sure.
This is a game I had against Grandmaster Tiger Hillary Pearson, who's pretty well
Okay,
known, and I was playing black in this position.
right.
So I guess maybe you might want to flip it just to see it from my
Yeah,
perspective. But
yeah.
basically, I was like kind of holding for most of the game. I was definitely worse, and then we got into this end game where I felt like I was still worse, but like kind of okay because like we have these like two passed pawns on the queen side, and these are no joke. Like white has to be careful not to let these
Yeah, for
start
sure.
running. So okay, after a long, yeah, hard fought game, I played knight e7, and then as soon as I like play this move, I realized like, oh man, he has h6 check, which is the tactic that like, well,
Oh
basically I
no.
was calculating on like every move to make sure that he never has this. But I
Oh.
basically blundered right at this moment because the point is takes knight d6,
Yeah, yeah. And
and
then
then
oh, I thought knight f6.
no, knight
I guess
d6.
knight. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
No, I
rook
see
is
it.
hanging and then rook has to defend the
Yeah.
knight. And then if I move the
Right.
rook to like d8, for example, then knight f7 check. So that's the point
Wow.
of knight d6. If you or of h6, if he plays knight d6 in this position, I just go rook d8. Everything's fine. We're just trading knights. But he throws an h6
Right.
takes knight d6 and like losing the exchange. And
Oh.
so I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
play king f8 and then knight f6. It's game over.
Yeah.
Okay, so then after the game, we're like analyzing, and then we come to this moment. And I'm like, oh yeah, I feel so bad. I blunder, and it was actually the same thing as what happened to you. He was like, yeah, well, hold on, like h6, like you could have taken knight d6, black takes here, knight takes c8, and then actually I did see this line during the game, like knight c3,
Huh.
rook a1, and like a5. And I basically thought like, yeah, it's probably losing. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? Um, then after we were analyzing this one, and he was like, "Yeah, this is not easy, bro. Like, this would be really like
Yeah.
there's so many ways white could mess this up. Like, white could lose this. Like the
Right.
two pawns running, black's king can stop the e pawn. White's knight on e8 is weird.
Oh,
The
for sure.
engine will say white is winning, but like,
Well, yeah, but it's a very probably like one line kind of like critical line kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember analyzing it, and like it was quite like not that easy to just find the cleanest way for white to win.
Yeah,
And basically the point was like, this mistake of giving up was actually a bigger mistake than missing h6, because you're always going to miss these kinds of tricks, but then the players who are able to kind of bounce back and just keep fighting all the way through, these are the players that end up being the most successful. Because it's not like Magnus has never had a bad position. He's had a lot of bad positions, but he's one of the best at like defending and like finding resources and just making the most out of his chances.
yeah. There is one game we'll look at tonight that I had so many
Somewhere?
moments I wanted to resign in, but like
Uh-huh.
I didn't because it was a training game against a titled player and I wanted to, use that experience. But
Mm,
yeah, so many times I wanted to resign.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but see, guys, it's not like I see the folks in the chat. It was it's not
right.
just it's not about like actually resigning too early. What happens for a lot of players is that you mentally resign. You're like, oh, the game is
Yeah,
over,
exactly.
and then you just make the rest of the moves out on autopilot, and then
Yeah,
you resign like when you're like down a rook or something. But
yeah,
um,
for sure.
yeah. The
Yeah, and it's like
question
when
is
you
the
mentally
mentality.
checked out. When you've mentally checked out like that, it's hard to really get yourself back into playing at full strength and stuff like that.
Right. And then it goes the other way as well.
Yeah,
If you're like totally winning, it's very easy to just like relax and start making moves on
exactly.
autopilot. And I
Yeah,
think it's actually the exact same. It's like two sides of the same coin. It's just the exact
I
same
had
skill.
I had an exact moment like that. I was playing the last round for a tournament, and if I won, I was gonna get first place and a bit of prize money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was up a pawn in a queen rook ending. It was like 3 against 2 on the king side, and I just kept pressing and pressing, and it was definitely a draw. But I was overconfident that I was gonna win this, and I just hung my rook like because I no. What happened was I touched my queen, and my rook was on free, and I
Gotcha.
just plundered my rook for free and was lost. But
And how much time did
yeah.
you have at this point?
Oh, I was down to seconds. This was like I think we were on like the fifth hour of the game. Like it
Oh,
was a
well,
long
okay. I mean,
game.
if you're in time
Yeah.
trouble, I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
understandable. Like, yeah, we're always
yeah,
gonna those situations are always gonna be crazy.
yeah.
It's super volatile. Um, but okay, let's go to another game. Um,
Sure.
okay, how about against Rachel?
Okay, yeah. This is against the title player.
Oh, okay.
This
And
is about 80 moves.
are you a Caracan player? Is this your main opening?
Um, I was playing it around the time that I played her, and I had been wanting to try out this line, this isolated queen pawn line.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, why not? Again, I kind of play everything. My main opening is the Sveshnikov.
Oh
I
wow.
think you saw the game I played against Mitch.
Probably yeah.
Um, and I actually, in one of David Simel's, this is like my famous mess up. I had mate in three. I'm a mate in one against him 3 times, but I was focused on his queenside pawns that I tunnel visioned and didn't mate him.
I remember
That
that.
came out of the Sveshnikov.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
was,
realize that was you. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that was me.
okay, okay.
And I just like, yeah, it was bad.
Interesting. Um, yeah, actually, I remember just briefly playing through this game.
Right.
So this was the moment I was most interested in. This D4
Yeah.
takes Queen E6. Yeah, what was the idea with all this stuff?
Um, okay, I can't remember the blunder, but I thought that this D4 move was actually horrible. I think it was because of takes, and then I'm trying to remember my idea.
Well, like based on the time usage, this is what happened. Like you spent maybe 90 seconds on D4, White took,
Yeah,
and then 5 minutes on Queen E6. So something happened.
yeah.
like,
No, or maybe it wasn't a blunder. I think I started realizing the king position of her, like her king position, and if I wanted any counterplay, I would need to focus on that. Maybe trying to exploit it. Um, you know, maybe try to get it to my queen to h3, hence queen e6. I don't know.
But then d5, you didn't give queen h3 check.
Yeah.
You played queen d6.
I didn't,
So,
because I got scared of the running pawn.
oh man.
Yeah.
So was your original intention to just take on d4?
Yes, which is that. See, yeah, there's the blunder. I missed this.
Oh, he's on g4.
Knight g4. Yeah, I saw this
Gotcha,
after,
Gotcha. Okay, okay.
and I was like, oh no.
I
So I
see.
need other play. The first 2 minutes of my like thinking for queen e6 was 2 minutes of regret, and then 3 minutes of thinking.
Oh, okay, okay. That's what I didn't quite get. So
Yeah.
d4 then, that was the blunder.
Yeah, and this was a full-on 90 plus 30.
Yeah, yeah, but at this moment you're like at
Yeah.
15 minutes. I mean, it's like it's a tactical
Yeah.
blunder. I would like
Yeah.
I don't fault you for
Yeah,
playing
I
this
just-
move in 90 seconds because you don't actually have that much time, and it is a reasonable
Right.
move.
Yeah.
But okay, it is tactical error. I got it now. All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's actually want to go back through this one, play through a little bit slowly.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting line in the Caro.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a huge fan of the IQP, but okay, I think it is okay. Now, normally I felt like they always try to keep the bishop, like bishop d6. Do you have any thoughts about this one?
I mean, for me, like, I wanted less pieces to be able to blockade on d4. So I thought just trading off a pair of, and then I don't know, maybe the rook's on a bad square, and I have castles knight f5 kind of ideas. She needs to still develop her knight to d2, which is not a great square. So I thought maybe, I don't know. And I think also I wanted to recapture with my e7 knight onto f6, onto c6 if she took. I'm just realizing now there's the tactical shot that protects d5, but
No, but bishop c6 definitely we want to take with the pawn for a number of reasons, but mainly to strengthen our own pawn. Because this will be an
Right.
improved. This is an improved structure for black. Because now you don't. It's much easier for you to defend c6 than to defend d5.
yeah, I guess that's true.
But yeah, on knight c6 there's also the added problem of the e file. I don't know. I actually think the general wisdom when you're playing with the IQP is that you don't want to trade minor pieces.
Right.
Because the more minor pieces you trade, the easier it is for white to use their heavy pieces to just like pile up on the d pawn and then take it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about this line. I'll just tell you what line I'm kind of thinking about. So in the French, there's a very similar variation. In the knight d2, c5, where white takes on d5, black takes with the
Oh
pawn.
yeah, the trash.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. And then we essentially get the same exact structure with kind of slightly different move order, but almost the same exact position by transposition, something like this.
Right.
And then at this moment, when white goes knight b3, it's very important for black to play bishop d6, because if they play bishop b6, they get hit with bishop e3, and here black doesn't want to trade bishops, and then if you go bishop c7, there's like bishop c5, so there's like some annoying stuff here, but the basic point is that in this line, black definitely doesn't want to trade the dark squared bishops, because this bishop is just really useful for your counterplay, especially like on this diagonal. It can be very annoying for white.
Right.
So I don't know, something to think about.
There's no bishop f2 there in that pass position, was there? The French one with queen b6. Like when the knight is still on.
Oh,
E2, here.
That's right. Yeah, I think white probably should go knight b3 here. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. For
Okay.
e1, there was this.
Because I saw the engine go crazy, and then
Oh yeah.
I just quickly saw the. It's like wait.
Gotcha.
But yeah, knight b3 first.
Yeah, I often ignore it because it'll swing. But no. This makes sense. Yeah. So right, white goes knight b3, and then if we played this one, which looks like totally reasonable, then, well, actually here, it's so interesting. Here actually it doesn't work anymore because there's going to be knight d2 or knight d4.
Yeah. And that's I realized that after, but I just thought with the knight still on d2.
Right. That's got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we just run into the same issue. So bishop e3, and then we don't want to trade bishops, and then we get hit with this bishop c5. And so long story short, it's better for black to pull back to d6 in this case. So that's why I'm kind of thinking in your case it also would make sense.
Right. Yeah.
To pull back. But okay, anyway, I think we're still kind of okay here. Especially like knight a3. Yeah, strikes
I
me
thought it
as a
weird.
mind.
I don't know what the idea was. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
So we go a6, back, knight g6. And do we play a6 because if we play knight g6 here, you were worried about white taking on c6?
Yeah. Again, I don't know. I didn't. In my head, I didn't want the pawn on c6.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a better structure for you. I'd be much more comfortable here.
No, I'm definitely I'm for sure comfortable here.
Yeah.
Or at least not uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think this a6 move was probably not needed.
Right.
Okay, so here we take b5. And then, yeah, what's the idea behind b5? To push b4?
b5, I wanted to stop c4. Because I thought that could be something in the future. I don't know.
Yeah. Starting to feel the, I guess the uncertainty. C4 would be a great move to see. If White's next move was c4, I would just let them make I would be like, go ahead, you get to play again. Because c4 lets you trade off your weak pawn. If you want to, it also lets you push forward, like d4, which would also be good.
That's true. Yeah, that's true as well.
So yeah, this seems kind of I don't know, kind of impulsive because now this structure is weak. Now when white goes knight c2, he hits you with a4. Now you have more weaknesses to kind of worry about. So that's kind of the problem here. So okay, here takes, and now white has, I think, really fantastic position because now he's like traded off multiple minor pieces, and it's very easy for him to just kind of pile on the d pawn. Okay, so but you got at least you got your setup. Queen g6, you have some like
I got a bit counterplay.
Some counterplay, exactly. Knight e1, knight c4, 6.
And honestly, I think this was a slightly other idea behind b5, is, the knight coming to c4 eventually. Like, it wasn't like, okay, I want the knight on c4. It was just something that came out of it, I guess. I don't know.
Then what happens here if white takes the pawn on d5?
There was rook takes e1.
Oh, of course, just take.
Yep.
Nice. And cool. So b3, knight went back. Here. Rook d2. Oops. Cool, yeah, now we're like kind of all ready.
Yeah.
F4, fantastic move to see.
Yeah, no, F4 was really good. She's a very sharp player.
Yeah. No, I mean, F4 was a good move for black. I mean,
really, for black?
Well, no, I'm really happy that white weakened themselves, yeah. I mean, this weekend.
I thought it was good. I thought it was okay for white.
Well, no, here actually I think we kind of, we self-destruct a little bit because we go for this d4, but white actually doesn't really have much of anything here because as weak as your pawn on d5 is, your pieces are super active, and now white has their own weaknesses to worry about.
Right.
Like now white can basically never take on d5.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I think you just basically kind of jumped the gun a little bit on this one.
I mean, yeah, I totally missed the tactic.
Yeah.
I thought d4 would have been really nice here. I don't know, because
Yeah.
I wanted to trade off obviously, and then just have a because I'm kind of okay with the draw,
Right.
but
Right.
this knight move I saw it pretty much right after I played d4.
What can I say? Unlucky. I mean, it's not the most obvious trick, for sure. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It'll happen. Um, eh,
it's
that
my
does bring
curse.
up a interesting point. How do you work on your tactics and calculation generally?
Calculation. I just sit there and look at problems for a while. Tactics. The thing for me is like I hate doing puzzles online. It just I don't know. Something about it really tilts me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do them out of a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I only have a few tactics books and I've kind of exhausted them, so I'm trying to find other resources. I got a few new things for Christmas, but um yeah, so it's just I'm very particular about where I like to get my tactics from. I don't like the Lee Chess ones very much. Chess.com, you have to pay for it, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a fan of the
Yeah.
online trainers. What about like Chessable? Because they have a lot of like books on there.
Um, Anything I can get for free, I'll do.
Oh, okay. I see.
So like, I mean, it would be a dream to do the woodpecker method, but I just like it's what at least $100.
I mean, they. No, no, no. The book it's like 20 or 30 bucks.
Yeah.
But well, like most books are. I think it's just the video courses that are pretty expensive. But
Uh,
I for well, they do have some free tactics courses. So you could try those. But there's also like Chess Tempo,
yeah.
which I'm not a huge fan of. What?
I've used that. I use that for endgames. Chess tempo.
Oh, okay.
I think their endgame calculation is good. It's helped me a lot there, but
Interesting.
yeah.
Um,
Again, like just like you, like the online tactics training is just kind of not for me.
yeah. What about like CT Art? Have you tried the app?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. I'll send it to you. It's I did a video on it
Cool.
for Dojo's channel, CT Art. It's just a good tactics app that I really like.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check
Um,
it out.
because so the problem with the online trainers is that they have all these problems where the engine just kind of like comes up with the solution, and it's
Right.
like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
exactly.
they're just not that like
And
useful.
and a lot of the positions, especially with lead chess, is like there's multiple answers. Like they'll get you to the same thing,
Oh,
but
I
if you do
see.
one, you're punished for not doing the most correct one.
Uh huh.
And it's like I don't know. It's a very, as you're saying, like engine heavy way of thinking, where it's like you have to play the one winning move, like the fastest winning move all the time.
Right.
I don't
But
know.
the
It
cool
just
thing about
conditions you wrongly.
CT Art though is that like on the app it has like this built-in engine, and so if you suggest them, because yeah, there are times where you make a move, and like there are multiple winning moves in the line, and if you just make one of them, then it gives it to you. It's like, yeah, this is an alternate move. Good job, and that's it.
Right.
Which is how it
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if
Yeah,
you're,
exactly.
um,
Like if it wins, it wins. Period.
yeah, it also goes back and
Yeah.
like lets you play out against multiple variations, which is really
Okay.
really cool. I did hear
Cool.
Lichess revamped their puzzles though, so it might be different now. I haven't exactly checked it out.
Yeah, as
Um,
I said, I've been away for a little while, but I'll have to look into it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
okay, the bigger point here is that tactics though are extremely important.
Right.
Basically for all parts of the game and for for all players. So
Yeah.
you do want to be working on your calculation, and I feel like that might even be the most important thing for you to work on right now. Just because I don't know, I get the feeling like your understanding of chess is pretty solid.
Yeah, and I've been playing for years, so I definitely have the experience side. Like, there's not much I haven't seen in terms of ways I can lose quickly. Um, yeah, but yeah, just calculation, not being lazy at times, and then yeah, like tactics, and then it's again like my other thing is converting good positions. I actually do better when I'm defending. I love defending. I
Hmm.
actually prefer to play the black pieces because for that reason.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
But,
something we'll have to think of
tactical
more
shot.
about, but yeah, it definitely feels like you have to work on kind of the practical side of things, like time management, knowing when to calculate, what to calculate. A few moments so far, yeah, where you being um, kind of like indecisive and then like changing your mind from one move to the next,
Yeah.
which
Right.
is it's not always a bad thing, but yeah, you don't see strong players doing this too often. They're often like choosing a
Right.
plan and just committing to it, even if it's bad, and only shifting away if like, well, for example, they miscalculated something, then you have to
Yeah.
adjust. But the thing is that they don't miscalculate very often. It's a very rare occurrence.
Right.
So this is why calculation is always in the background of the game, because there are so many moments where
Yeah.
like if to find the right move, you have to see some trick, or you have to see that your opponent's trick isn't working, and learning to kind of pick up these little details it takes a lot of practice. So this is why working on your calculation, solving like simple tactics, simple puzzles is really important. Actually, another good book I'll just mention is Combinative Motives by Maxim Bloch. It's a classic. It just has thousands of, well, I don't know if thousands, but at least 1,000 good exercises in there, good tactics.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one more
Yeah.
game I want to play through. I think you won this one.
Yeah. Oh, I
So,
think this is my game against Jeff.
yeah. Okay, you're playing.
Yeah. No, I'm proud of this one. This was a
White
better one I've
House.
had in recent past.
This was a nice game. I remember. I think I watched this one. I think this was on the stream.
Yeah. It might have been. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. Here's my canal attack that I spent a lot of time on in my youth.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's see. C4. Okay. So here we end up going for the end game.
Yeah.
So what was your thinking here?
Here, my idea was just the space on the king side. I was thinking, okay, G4, F4, which I kind of did.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting G5. That kind of caught me by surprise. So I played H3, G4, like G3, G4 to stop knight F4.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I
Now
guess
knight
G5 is
is.
just to stop F4, but yeah, the knight's a little dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And then yeah, I remember this moment I thought was weird because you're kind of willingly giving
uh,
yourself.
well, I think here my idea was the fact that the double pawns aren't that bad, and my king will actually be pretty good on E4. It's hard to hit the king. He doesn't have a light squared bishop. The knight is not really going to be able to get to a good score to attack it. So I thought the king would be really good there, centralized, until I'm ready to activate it in the end game, or the end game.
Yeah.
And he had the file, so getting rid of one pair of rooks was good, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Huh. No, it ended up being really, really interesting. The way you play this. So
Yeah.
you're here. A5. C6. Takes. And then B4. Yeah, I really like this move.
Yeah, well, just trying to, get the bishop on a better square. Like, it's just, I think my bishop wasn't great here. Because I could put it on A5, but it's not really going anywhere. And I have a hard time attacking the G5 pawn at the moment, just because I have a pawn on E3.
Mm-hmm.
So B4 just kind of opens things up.
Well, yeah, so like this move, I mean, it shows your like kind of, because for the moment the knight is on A8. It's like you got to do something right at this moment if you want to get anything in this position. And
Yeah.
it poses some very difficult problems for black, and then he ends up going wrong immediately.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Just taking on C4 didn't seem great.
Then yeah, all this was really well played. I don't know, man. Maybe you should be playing more endgames. I mean, this feels like your best played game so far.
That's been my focus in COVID has been endgames.
Uh-huh.
I've literally gone through the entirety of what's his name? Man, I'm short on names tonight. The endgame manual, not endgame manual. The endgame course.
Oh,
Silman.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a good
like
book.
I've grinded through it, and I'm starting it again soon.
Uh
Just
huh.
going through all the games again. Um,
And have you read any books on like
yeah,
practical endgame play, like endgame strategy? They kind of show like, like typical endgame situations.
I've read like tidbits, like articles. Um, my knowledge, like the way I acquire knowledge, is just very specific. Like I'll be thinking about a very specific thing, and then I'll go search that up. It's less about like being general. I've always been like very, so I'm good at like very specific things in chess, and other things have massive holes in them for that reason. But
Hmm.
I found they kind of balance out. Maybe a little less so as I've gotten a little stronger in rating.
I
I don't know.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got an interesting case.
Yeah, no, I definitely, the fact that I started with openings definitely kind of screwed me over a little.
And what do you
Um,
mean by that exactly? Like how would you
like
study in the past?
so I literally would just study opening theory and beat my 1,200 comrades within 15 moves, just because they wouldn't know a trap in a 15 move line.
I see.
Like not 15 move line, but like I don't know, just I'd get these positions that were just too good to throw away. Like
Hmm.
I don't know,
And
just what I focused.
if you were gonna like, how are you spending your time these days in terms of like working on your chess? Like, what exactly are you doing or like
So
wanting
for
to do?
like I kind of was going on a very strict schedule. I was doing about 15 hours a week of chess. And again, that was mostly end games. So I kind of have like modules, I guess you could call them. So I do like one topic for like a long time. I actually asked you about this earlier last year.
Uh huh.
It was in chat, and a chat. I asked you personally, what would you recommend as a good method of training? You
Hmm.
said, okay, do it in like blocks. So do this for a certain amount of weeks, and then do this for a certain amount of weeks. And I started doing that.
Hmm.
And my last session was end games, so I was doing that for about 4 months.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah, so 15 hours a day on end games for not a day, in a week for 4 months.
I see.
I've worked a lot. Yeah, so
And
that was my.
do you want to keep doing that, or do you think like now you should be moving on to maybe something else?
I think I can move on. I'm not going to just drop it because end games are highly important.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what my next course of action should be, I guess.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah,
I think I'm kind of getting like some idea. My feeling is
yeah,
that maybe you can afford to be a lot more, or you should start working on being a lot more concrete in your games, meaning like
right,
relying on your calculation and tactics, and yeah, basically just trying to like calculate more in the position, if that makes
right.
sense, and looking for like more kind of like forced lines. Um,
Yeah,
so I think maybe a good focus or the next focus I would say would probably be calculation. I mean, in general, it's just like good to work on it. I think for most players, you can always improve your calculation, and calculation can make up for a lot that you don't necessarily like understand about a position if you're able
right.
to just simply figure out like what ideas your opponent is likely going to play and and come up with tactical ideas for yourself. Like this can just really just be worth quite a bit. So yeah, I mean, my feeling is that where you would make kind of like the most gains for your chess.
Right.
So when it comes to
Okay.
like how to work on your calculation, I think we should talk about it because there's many different things you could be doing. Um,
Yeah.
and I always kind of split it up into kind of two categories. You have your quick tactics. It's going to be like your pattern recognition, like forks, skewers, pins, all these like themes and motifs, basically like puzzle rush tactics. And then you
Right.
actually have your like calculation skill, which is when you're like in a game or you're in some situation, there might be a best move, but you obviously have no idea what that best move is. And you don't necessarily know like how difficult it's going to be. You don't know how many different lines you have to calculate. you also don't know what the opponent is going to do, and it's up to you to kind of find their response, right? So quick
Right.
tactics, it's like you just have to find some quick idea, and that's it. There's nothing to calculate. You take something with check, you give
Exactly.
another
Yeah.
check, and then you win the piece. That's it. That's the
That's just
calculation.
about like initial sight kind of thing.
Yeah. So this is like
Yeah.
another way to think about it is like this could you can call it like you could refer to like type one, or I think they call it like system one thinking. Basically like really quick
Right.
reactionary. Then you have your slower calculation, which I think is maybe the one to work on because well you're a strong player now, and I mean this is where games are going to be decided, is whether you can outcalculate someone.
Right.
And not a lot of your opponents are going to be blundering simple tactics, so it's going to be you're
Yeah.
going to have to calculate stuff in advance. And a lot of times the calculation requires you to see lots of little tactical details along the way. For example, you want to make some move, and then your idea is to basically go for some attack. And then 5 moves down the line, you're not going to know if like it's working or not, but maybe you can kind of calculate and see some variations along the way. Um, so I think that would be the one to kind of focus on. So there's different ways to do it. Obviously, books with difficult puzzles are good. So puzzles that take you like 10 to 15 minutes to work through, and the idea would be to spend 10 to 15 minutes on one problem, write down your solution, check your solution against the answers, play through the solution, and then if you missed the problem or if you didn't see all the way till the end, go back to the start of the position or the start of the exercise and visualize the full solution in your mind.
Right.
So as if you were calculating this exact variation during the game. So you can really see what it feels like to calculate the whole variation, all the variations through and through. Because then you have the moves. So it's just a question
Yeah.
of visualization.
Right.
Because within the calculation process, there's also your ability to find moves, which is just your kind of general skill, and then you also have your visualization skill, which is no less important, and also needs to be kind of worked on. Because if you can't visualize the position 3 moves down the line, you can't calculate, even if
Yeah.
you
Well,
could find
actually,
the move.
blindfold chess.
Hmm.
I've done a lot of blindfold chess. I guess that's how you work on visualization.
That's a
in
great way to
sense.
work on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I used to help out at a club in my city, like my hometown, and I did a blindfold simul once or twice against
Oh wow.
the
Cool.
students. I've done. I sometimes will go online and just play blindfold games.
Oh, I see. So
Um,
your visualization might not be too bad then, but
yeah, and
you.
I have a fairly strong memory for that kind of thing. Like I can close my eyes and I can see the board.
Uh huh.
Like it's not like it's hard to do that, I guess.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Well, yeah, in
yeah,
that case, I feel like you definitely could be using
it's
more
just
of
about
that
doing the
during your games.
calculation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially right, like when I see games and you're playing all your moves really quickly, then it's like
Yeah.
that to me indicates you're kind of just going off of your instincts and
Hmm.
not your calculation.
Yeah, it's the intuition. I am a very intuition based player.
Right.
Um, and I think that's what helped me with end games when I was a much lower rated player. Like I was able to intuitively play out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to intuitively play out a position where it's 4 pieces on the board instead of a middle game kind of idea.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think we're now really getting the picture. Yeah, you're basically a very intuitive
Yeah,
player.
yeah,
And I remember, so Agard writes in one of his recent books about like different types of players, kind of divides them between like intuitive and I think what was the other one? I believe it was like logical, which basically means more calculating.
right.
Um, and basically on intuitive players, the idea is that you kind of get a lot for free. So there's a lot of things that come
Uh-huh.
naturally to you, like you kind of
Yeah,
know where to put the pieces. But then when it comes to like the hard stuff, you don't want to work. You're kind of the lazy, the lazy player who
yeah,
doesn't want to.
yeah. No,
So
it's not wrong.
so typically intuitive players, I'm also an intuitive player, so I'm speaking for myself
Yeah,
here, kind of struggle with like king and pawn in games where there's like a lot of like, moves to calculate and one little detail can
right.
change stuff. Um,
Yeah, for me, definitely the major piece end games are where I'm stronger.
mm,
Maybe because that's just what I've studied, or again the intuition. Like I don't know, I've like in a queen pawn end game, like that's just my home court. I feel the most comfortable there.
Interesting. Interesting. I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, queen and pawn is maybe it is kind of more intuitive, just about knowing
yeah.
where to put the queen. Whereas king and
Just
pawn
piece
end games,
placement and stuff.
it's literally just all about calculation. In fact,
Yeah, and if
that
one wrong move, you're lost.
honestly,
Yeah.
if you really wanted to eat your vegetables, you would go work on some king and pawn end games. But I don't like giving
Yeah.
this advice because I think it's not very pleasant, and I personally don't like doing it.
Right.
So I wouldn't say you have to do it. But
Yeah.
well, if you ever get to Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual, I mean, he has a very extended chapter on king and pawn endgames. Um, I'm sure that would be extremely challenging. Not
Yeah.
necessarily the thing you have to work on, but that would give you a good indication of like the types of problems that you're going to struggle with, and those are probably the ones that
Right.
if you work on that, then that's going to give you the most benefit for your overall chess.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when I was around, like, I want to say maybe 18, 1900, 2000, basically very similar to your level. Like, I would say I was a very intuitive player myself. I was playing like d4 and just kind of playing for like, positional chess, trying to like outplay my
Yeah.
opponents, create some weak squares, put my knight there, win a pawn or something, grind them out in the end game. But then whenever the situation got tactical, I would immediately like collapse. I just wasn't concrete enough. I wasn't able to kind of like match my
Right.
opponents in like the hand to hand combat. And so only once I like
Yeah.
really started like taking it seriously, like I broke out the Dvoretsky, and like started working through the problems, just like calculating at the board, like suffering, looking at the solution, trying to visualize. It's a really grueling process. But like four
Yeah.
weeks of like tough calculation, you'll really like rewire your brain. You'll just feel like a completely
Right.
different
Yeah, and
player.
like that's what I've been trying to, remedy in the last months is just being more focused on actually studying and not like just, you know, hoping that I can intuitively play my way out of a bad position.
Yeah, 'cause you won't
Um,
lose your intuition.
yeah,
I
yeah,
guarantee you. Like honestly, it will just help. It'll just help you. When you watch a
guide
guy
it
like
more.
so like Jesse, for example, when he's doing commentary, uh, he has so much experience. He has just like an incredible intuition, right? Because he understands the game
Oh
at a
yeah, for
very
sure.
deep level, and so now like that makes it a lot easier for him and other GMs to calculate because the right moves come to them, and then they know what to calculate. But
Yeah,
then they go and do the work and they calculate.
right.
So your intuition will always help you.
Yeah,
But yeah, it does feel like maybe this is the one aspect where you can really improve things, just your concrete side. So
right.
that means solving puzzles, like setting them up on a board. It could also mean going through the games of a very tactical player, someone like a Tal or a Shirov or a Kasparov, and
Right.
especially Kasparov, super concrete, very calculating player. He just saw lots of variations. He had a powerful intuition. He knew like what to sacrifice and like where his pieces should go, but he would always justify his thinking with variations. So that could
Right.
be a really interesting player to study. Maybe just look up some videos. I know you said it has to be free. Like,
Yeah.
there's tons of YouTube videos people analyzing Kasparov's games. Watch the video,
Right.
pause the video, and think.
Yeah.
Try to
Yeah.
play some like solitaire chess. Try to come up with his ideas, and then really try to understand the kinds of lines he's analyzing and calculating and how he plays the game.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, okay, I feel like that's gonna be kind of that would be my I guess my prescription for you.
Yeah. Calculation.
Right, concrete stuff. If you need any advice or suggestions on books or courses or stuff, feel free to just like ping me whenever.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
and yeah, obviously keep playing as frequently as you're playing. I think like just these long time control games against strong opponents. This is another
Yeah.
opportunity where you test your calculation. So this is like a very important part of the improvement process. Just playing continually, especially trying if you're really gonna try to become like a more concrete player, then you have to kind of make a very conscious mental shift for your games. Like, this
Yeah.
game, I'm going to be calculating every move. I'm going to be calculating on my opponent's turn. I'm going to be spending time. Whenever I come up with a move, I'm going to be thinking, what do I expect from my opponent? And then what's going to be my follow-up there? You're always thinking 1 to 2 steps ahead, watching out for tactics and blunders and things like that. It has to be a very mental shift for you to really start kind of like growing as a player.
Yeah, I do have a lot of goals. I want to work towards NM at the moment when COVID gives me the chance.
Dude, totally doable.
Yeah.
Totally possible. I mean, said you're in school, so you're certainly young enough. And
yeah, 19.
Yeah, no, you have plenty of time, and you've played enough chess where it's like it's baked in. The patterns are baked in.
Yeah.
So you just have to like.
Sure. I've been playing tournaments since about 2014. So.
Yeah, no, a lot of time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the thing to remember is like you still have a long time to go, and if your next like 6 months or a year is just like grinding and like calculation, it's like it feels like a lot of time. Like, oh man, I got to work for so long, but at the same time, like in a year you'll be 20 and much stronger, and you'll be much better position than you are now. So it's like it's actually not that much time once you start looking back on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, if I think about how long I've been playing tournaments for, just another year.
Yeah. I think a lot of players that make the mistake, they're like, oh man, if I had spent the last, 5 years or whatever grinding, I would have been a master by now. But it's like, you have the next 5 years. Like, don't make the same mistake.
And the 5 after that.
Right, exactly. So I think you have all the tools. It is hard work, but it's like, well, if your goals and your motivation are kind of like set, and it's like what kind of player you want to be. Like you want to be that master that like calculates stuff and like sees tactics and ideas, and like if you have this vision of like the player you want to become, then it makes the work a lot more doable.
Right.
You actually you can't wait to do it. It's like you want to wake up every morning and get your calculation training in. So that's my hope for you.
Yeah.
All right, Henry, we'll wrap it up there, and then hopefully we'll check in a couple months and see how it's going. And
sure.
I hope you have some. I think that helps also, because there's going to be this impending moment where.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Kostya's just going to message me and want to know where I am with my chess.
Yeah, I'm going to check in. I want to see how you're doing. So.
Yeah, I mean, I do still have about 6 games left in the round robin as well, so you'll be able to see me play those.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Thanks so much for doing this, Henry. Thanks everyone for watching. And you can catch this full episode and previous episodes over on YouTube, either on my personal channel or on probably on Chess24 or CoChess. I don't know. It'll be somewhere on YouTube. Just
somewhere.
Google it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take it easy. Have a good one. All right. Thanks, man. That was great. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Did you want to see the end of that game?
Oh, wait. Oh, the Yuri game?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or you might have already seen it.
Yeah, I saw this one a while back. Yeah,
it ended with a nice.
Right, this one.
Yeah. D5.
Oh, D5. Yeah.
Yeah. Knight can't come back.
Yeah. That was honestly, actually, like once you found all these other moves, I was like, okay, it's for sure you're gonna see D5.
Yeah. And my king, if I wasn't winning there, I was winning on the king side. So.
Yeah, but this was genuinely like a very well played endgame. So this.
Yeah. No, this was a feel good moment for me, because it was kind of like, I don't know, a showing of everything I've worked on for the past little while. Because give me this position maybe a year ago, I totally would have lost.
Yeah.
I would have misplaced my bishop. I would have given up the pawns on d4 and c5, and I just would have lost somehow. But
I see.
Yeah, I just been working on like piece coordination and piece harmony.
Well, no, I mean it was very well played. I mean, in the short term, if you want to like, if you want to like keep up your results, I think like. Going into the end game is not a bad idea. Yeah,
for sure. And then that'll help with calculation, right? Just calculating end games.
Yeah, I think that can happen. Yeah, anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, man. I will. Well, be in
Yeah.
touch. I'll see you around.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
All right, have a good one.
You too.